Creative Living, utilizing today's technology with the best of the past to bring you innovative ideas and up-to-date information for creative lifestyles in today's active world. With your host, Sheryl Borden.
Welcome to Creative Living today. We're going to learn how to make the most of small living spaces. We'll talk about why eating kale is so good for us. And finally, we'll find out how to use clayboard in our craft projects. One of my guests today is Kale Starr, and she's an interior designer from San Francisco, California. Kale is going to talk about some of the challenges of small living spaces. Then she'll present solutions for the overall look of the space. Her company is Kale Starr Interior Design. What's for lunch? Well, the answer is kale, but do you know what kale is? Carol Finster is an author and nutritionist, and she's going to explain what kale is, show various varieties, and explain why it's so good for us. She'll also show how to make kale chips, which are very tasty. Her company is Savory Palette Incorporated, and she lives in Centennial, Colorado. My first guest today is Shannon Bilkey, and she's a crafter and designer from Payson, Arizona. Shannon's going to show the beauty and versatility of clayboard, which can be used in many ways. Her company is Shea & Company. Shannon, thank you so much for being with us today. We're going to be working with a product I had never heard of. Now, maybe lots of other people have, but it's called clayboard.
It's clayboard. It's an artist medium. It's been around for a long time, but in the craft world it isn't very well known, which surprises me because it's a wonderful, versatile medium. It has a very fine layer of clay over the surface of pressed wood.
Oh,
and
clay
so,
over wood.
Right.
Clayboard.
So
okay.
how it works is you can stamp on it, you can ink it, you can use, I use plaster putty on one of them, but the beauty of this is you can scratch out.
And that's how these letters were made.
Right.
They've been scratched
out for highlighting.
Oh,
and you can scratch out mistakes too. You can be, if you're very fine about it, if you stamp something and you don't like it or you only like part of it, for example, with this question mark, it was all stamped behind it, and I just gently scraped off the very top surface of the ink. So that then I could go back and ink that or alcohol ink it or put a little bit of color in there. This whole surface from here to the edge was all stamped like this, but I just sanded it with a nail file that you get at the dollar store. It's very, very versatile, and it comes in lots of different sizes.
And this has different shapes on it. This is one piece.
That's one
8
piece.
by 11 or
and
something.
And it's a total collage piece.
These are some other sizes.
There's nothing on the surface here except for ink from stamps. This is plaster. I had a little bit of plaster at home, so I mixed it up,
raised.
Put some color in it, and then I masked it off and put that. But everything is just stamped, just colored. There's some embossing on your stamping. You emboss here, and then I highlighted the leaves and the branches by scratching out the little
you've got
white
to show
lines.
us. Oh, here's even a round shape.
Right,
So
it comes in ovals, it comes large, small. This is a bag of the squared shapes. They come
All
in
squares.
Rectangles, large squares, small squares. And they also have craft size pieces in ovals, circles, different sizes, which work. This is a larger oval for the craft size.
Okay.
But see, it's a really nice, and then there's smaller one, which I've made cameos on. You make a cameo, and you can either do your own drawing or you can use stamps. You emboss the cameo, then you can paint in the color, and it looks like it's beautiful.
Like a real cameo.
Right, and then you turn it into jewelry. These can be used for jewelry. This was made into a book. Easily, you could make it into a box.
Now, is it hard to poke the holes in there?
No, I use my handy Dremel saw.
Okay.
And it's my Dremel tool, very easy to drill the holes. And you can drill them bigger, set eyelets in, make it look more professional.
And this one you used 3 different pieces, the same
These
size,
are the
but
ATC
3.
card size, the cards that
Oh,
they
the trading
collect.
cards,
Right, and yes, and I use different pieces. This one I actually won a first place on with this company, Ampersand Stamp Board Company. They just wanted people to try using it. And I was working at my craft store, and I sent it in, and I was delighted to hear they loved it.
I think so. Oh, and here's some jewelry like you were talking about.
Right, I just took a couple of those small squares, I stamped, I embossed, I did some more stamping, I did some painting, I did some line etching. That is a very simple piece of jewelry, but you could do a lot more, like the cameo I was talking about makes a very nice necklace.
And you can get many of the jewelry findings in your craft shop now that
Right.
that's not a problem.
And you could add pretty little embellishments if you wanted to jazz it up. You just have to play with it and
see
use
what
it the way you
do.
want.
Well, show us how you do this.
Okay. Now the scratching is very simple, and you just would.
Now this hasn't had anything
This
put
is
on
just
it, or
plain.
it's just plain
Yes.
kind of.
And if you were going to scratch and give some highlights, you're going to be careful because it's only like 1/8 of an inch thick at that. But see, I'm scratching out that line. You can scratch highlights in here. Let's do something over here.
Is that just kind of a little stylus thing?
Yes, this is just an inexpensive little sharp tool. You could use an X-Acto knife. You could use
X-Acto knife. That's what I was
anything with a
thinking of.
tip on it. But you scratch highlights in it. You can scratch grid work. You can scratch depth. And as you see, I'm doing this quickly, and you get a quick scratch. Now you can also make it very smooth by using just the edge of the tool and kind of lightly.
Scraping it.
Because I don't like the lines. If I can afford it, I don't like to see the scratch lines. I'm kind of picky about that. And then you could go back, like I did in here, and I scratch, and then I went back in these lines and I painted.
So you do the scratching part first. I would have thought you'd
Sometime.
stamp some. Oh, you don't have to.
No, you can stamp and then scratch, and then lots of times I'll go back and put color in it and then scratch some more.
Oh,
It's kind of like you keep playing with it till it looks good.
I
Till
see.
you love it. Like here, none of these colors, these have been scratched except right here above the 4. You can see where I scratched it to give you a highlight, a detail of light. This is all scratched off right here.
So where it's white, basically.
Right, where it's white. And if you do a little too much, you can go back and paint it a little bit. If you do it way too much, you'll know because you'll come up to
the brown?
the board
Oh,
underneath.
okay.
And then you just have to play with it. You have to do something else, cover it up, put a piece of embellishment, put some ink on there, and go with
to
it.
plan B.
That's the way you meant it, right.
I see. So there's nothing ever wrong. You just change courses
No, and
a
that's the
little bit.
beauty of this clay board, which I just don't get why it's not bigger in the craft world, because it's fun and versatile, and you can do so much with it.
Well, this is interesting. Certainly something new to me. I didn't realize that you could scrape out to make the
And
etchings.
there's rub-ons on there, your little embellishments. You go through your little goodie drawer and find out stuff that you want to put on them, little pieces of ribbon, fibers, little whatever suits you. This is just to stabilize it because I didn't want it wobbling.
But it could wobble if you wanted it to.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. I'm
Well,
anxious
you're
to
very
try
welcome.
this since
I
I'd
hope
never seen it
so.
before.
I think you'll love it.
Carol, thank you so much for coming. And when I heard that we were going to talk about kale, I thought, have I ever eaten kale? If I have, I probably didn't know it. So I think we're going to present some information that may be a little bit new to other people.
It may be. You know, kale, there was a time when you maybe found kale at a health food store at the farmer's market, and that's the only place. Now, it's at all the grocery stores. It's literally the darling of the nutrition world. And not only do you find just one kind, you find many different kinds.
Oh, really?
In many different shapes. You know, it's actually a member of the cruciferous family. It's a cabbage,
Oh,
but it
it's a
doesn't look
cabbage.
like cabbage, does it?
No.
So the ways we can buy it are as one of my favorites. This is called Tuscan kale or dinosaur kale.
Dinosaur.
Possibly because of the leaf and kind of the dinosaur
Lumpy.
dark look. Who knows?
Interesting.
This is called curly kale, and these will both be in the produce section.
Now see, I think when I said I don't know if I've eaten it, I think I may have bought it thinking it was leafy lettuce.
Right, it looks like leafy green lettuce, exactly. And other ways of buying it, though, is you can buy it as a already cut up as like a salad and ready just to toss like you would toss lettuce greens. You can also buy it frozen, which is a nice way to do it if you want to just keep it in the freezer if you're not going to eat it, you know, a lot
All
at
of
one
it.
time. You can also buy buy kale chips, which we were going to talk about today.
And I've never heard of those.
Isn't that, it's a whole new concept. And of course you can make smoothies, green smoothies. And I like to say that I get my husband to eat kale in his smoothies by mixing in a berry that's blueberry or red that makes the smoothie red, and he doesn't know.
Sort of disguises it.
Yeah, it's called stealth nutrition.
Okay. Well, and I know you are an expert, truly, in gluten-free cooking. So how does kale fit into the diet?
It is totally gluten-free and
it
therefore
is.
safe for everybody. And as long as you don't put any gluten-containing ingredients on it, you're good to go.
Well, okay.
And it's extraordinarily healthy. It has all tons of vitamins A and C and K. It's high in calcium, and it's got, of course, fiber. So what I want to show you today is how to make these kale chips.
Oh, we can make those at home.
So simple. You can make them at home. So I have some started. This is the bowl that we've torn the pieces or cut them into bite-sized pieces.
No, we're using the dinosaur.
We are using the dinosaur, and so I thought I'd show you the two ways. You don't want to use this vein because it won't dry very well. So there's two ways of preparing it. One is you can tear it like this.
Which is pretty fast.
Which is pretty fast, sure. And, or you can take and use a paring knife and cut on either side of the vein, just like this. And then just cut the pieces if that's
and
what
you just discard. There's no reason to keep the vein. There's
no,
nothing to
there's
do with
no
it.
reason, although, you know, some people might say that you might use them in soups.
Soups, oh, okay.
But I think the vein is going to be pretty tough and pretty woody, so it's probably not going to be something. You could probably compost them, I don't know for sure. So what you do is you put them in the bowl, and what we're going to do is toss them. Now, if there was any moisture on these, and I patted them dry beforehand, but you would want to either put them in a salad spinner or before you started cutting, pat the leaf with a paper towel, because here's why. We're going to sprinkle olive oil on here and try to mix it all together so that every part of the bite is coated so that it will dry in the oven. So you just want to make sure, and there's no moisture here, these are pretty dry. So we toss it with olive oil. And if you were doing this at home, you would try to make sure that the olive oil was totally covering each and every piece. It's a little harder with this curly stuff because it's
hard to get it down in it.
So what some people do is get in there with their hands and literally massage the oil in, and that's fine. And then what you do, and we're using a small baking sheet today just because to save space, but you get the idea. You can, you know, I usually make it big, 18 by 13 or 9 by 13.
So if you make the large and after it's ready, which is what we'll show in just a minute, can you freeze that?
I don't think these would freeze very well because I think they would no longer retain the crisp nature. You're trying to make a chip.
Chips, I
Not
see.
that they're going to replace a potato chip or corn chip because they're a different texture, but the notion of something crunchy in your mouth
But you
will be
could
lost.
put it in soups or stews.
Oh, sure.
Or,
You can freeze it for that purpose and then just toss them in your soup. I think kale goes great with beans, personally. Like white bean soup, I get that a lot in restaurants. So spread them out as best you can, and then maybe sprinkle with a little bit of salt. And here's where, you know, the sky's the limit. Do whatever you want. Parmesan is good. If you go in the store and you buy these, you're going to find them, first of all, they're going to cost you about $5 or $6 for a bag like this.
Wow.
Yeah, where you can make them for next to nothing at home, especially if you grow your own, which I'm thinking about doing this year. And I think it's a pretty hardy thing to grow. I think it's pretty easy. So put these in the oven, or if you have a dehydrator, but
that would be good.
anymore, our modern day ovens usually have a convection setting. I put mine in at 180 on the convection setting, and that makes the air whirl around and it dries them out. Maybe 10 to 15 minutes. It's pretty quick because
so
they're not
watch it.
Watch it. Yeah, this is not a time to be leaving the kitchen, leaving them alone. Then take them out and let them cool, and what you end up with is kale chips. And if there's any left,
really
you can freeze them. They're very crisp, and they'll come out all different sizes, you know, depending on how you cut your leaf. But they are delicious and, like we said, extraordinarily nutritious. And the beauty is you've controlled what goes into them.
Well, and I was just wondering, could you add some of these to maybe sour cream or make your own dip?
Of course.
Would that be good?
That would be a kale dip. You'd already have whatever seasonings you put on it, maybe Parmesan or, you know, I've seen them with nacho cheese flavorings. cayenne pepper, green
Oh,
chili. If you look in the stores today, the variety of flavors that they are putting on kale chips is really amazing.
Well, that's it. We can go and look and
Yeah.
then look at the price tag and then go home
Right,
and know that we
and
can make
your
our
own. And it's
That's
not a huge
wonderful.
time investment either.
Well, it's so nice to know that kale is really good for everyone, and we can start recognizing the different varieties
Right.
in the produce department. Thank you very much for coming today, Carol.
Thank you.
Kimball, thank you so much for being here. As a designer, I'm sure you're asked all kinds of interesting questions for people, but today I thought it would be fun if we could talk about a small living space or the space that we have available, but sometimes it's so cramped that it's hard to entertain or hard to have multiple tasks going on. What suggestions do you have for us?
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. Definitely in small spaces there are some things you can do. One, you can work with how the space looks, so you can make it more contemporary, very little ornamentation, keep clutter out of the way.
Keep it simple.
Yes. Clever ways to store items, and finding furniture that serves dual purpose is really important. So something like a coffee table that you can sit on, but it also serves storage needs.
Oh, good
So I have
ideas.
lots of examples
Okay,
here.
let's look.
So
This will be fun.
So we've got bathroom, which is, everyone's got small bathrooms. Here, using this cabinet, using built-in storage, if people can afford to do custom built-ins, I definitely recommend it because every inch is invaluable in a small space. So when you walk in, the toilet is actually on the other side of this cabinet.
So it's a divider
That's
type.
right. So instead of being against the wall, it's actually perpendicular to the wall. So it serves storage needs, but it's also a privacy divider. So this is a situation where you're using your furniture to serve multiple purposes. And then angling your floor tiles will help make the space seem bigger as well. And in showers, if you use a curbless shower, so you don't have anything to step over, which is easier to get in and out of the shower, and it also
Yeah, that's a good point.
makes the space flow. And
Instead of breaking it up
You
with
got
that
it.
divider.
and
Okay.
using the same floor material. So it's the same tile that is on the outside going in, so it's just one seamless look. And then, of course, as I just said, utilizing custom built-ins. This utilizes every square
Great
inch
space.
flush, and then it doesn't feel crammed because we have the frameless shower glass on the left, so you still have this visual open space.
Instead of something blocking, if it were a solid, we can just
Absolutely.
continue our look.
Absolutely. Now here's a custom built-in media cabinet, which is wall-mounted. So by wall mounting, it leaves space underneath for air to flow, which is really important to not have a space feel cluttered. And this serves multiple purposes. We can serve alcohol and glassware up here. We can have this to serve drinks, and below is all the media and AV storage. And it's wall mounted. The power goes straight through the wall. It's wired into an overhead ceiling projector. The ceiling projector projects onto a pull-down screen. You can watch your internet, you can play
Oh my
video
goodness.
games, you can watch
And
sports.
no wires. I love that. It's not
amazing.
that cluttered look with
That's
all
right.
the wires.
That's right. And you can roll the projection screen, which is also ceiling mounted, up and down and get it out of the way, and you don't have to waste space
Good
storing
point.
a TV. And for dining area, using transparent or translucent furniture lets the space feel more spacious. Glass coffee tables, translucent chairs.
Again,
and-
because we see through it. It
That's
doesn't
right.
block or stop our vision.
Absolutely.
I see that.
And also with the cabinetry, it's seamless in that it's all the same color, so it just fades into the background. But the nice thing is having the glossy black of the refrigerator helps reflect light and actually makes vision, gives it more depth. So it feels like the space has more depth to it. And then if you're lucky enough to have floor to ceiling glass windows,
yeah.
that definitely, it makes the wall dissolve, but not everybody's quite that fortunate. And this is a small dining area where I've used a bench instead of dining chairs because it's open to the living area, and it was very tight to get by. So a bench only takes up about 15 inches, whereas a dining chair can take up 18 to 24.
Oh, that's a good tip.
And it definitely
I've
keeps
seen
the
the bench
space.
used, but I just thought it was, you know, of a choice, but I didn't realize
Yeah.
it also had a purpose
Yeah,
like that.
it's
Good
very
idea.
compact.
Uh-huh.
And then of course we have our reflective surfaces, which reflects the view and helps the space feel
A little
bigger.
bit bigger. Uh-huh.
This is for if you don't have a lot of space for a home office. This is in the living area.
And again, you're using the walls
That's
as
right.
a furniture piece.
And this would normally maybe just be an empty, wasted space because the TV area is over here in the bay window, but by putting some floating shelves, streamlined furniture is really important, small in scale, thin, not a lot of ornamentation. And then by having reflective surfaces, the chrome on the base of the chair, and then the reflective surfaces on the shelves, it helps reflect light and makes it feel like it's more spacious. And for your living areas, we have, this is a very tight space. This is actually, might seem counterintuitive to some people. We took the sectional and went the whole width of the room. So it fits completely wall to
it
wall.
does.
Because there's a piece of glass over here on this side that you can't go any further. But because we kept the wall color and the sofa the same, it just blends and flows. And then here we have a coffee table that's double duty where it has storage, but it can also be used as additional seating when you're having a party.
Oh, that's a good tip.
For storage in the kitchen, the island is great. It's kitchen storage. It also has a slide out counter over here, so people can sit and have drinks. And then we also have over here, we use a little pointer, a built-in storage for the media and office. So these Shoji screen doors slide to the right side, and there's a
So it's
slab.
hidden part of the time.
That's right.
but
Or you can
open
close
when
it
you
off
want.
completely. And this was just an unused closet space, and this is how you can take hidden niches and really utilize them into functional spaces.
Right. And it's very attractive, too.
Yes. And this has multiple functions here. So this space, they didn't have a dedicated dining area. This is the entry area.
Oh.
So this place was only 650 square feet.
Total?
It's a one bedroom
Oh.
total. It's
Okay.
very small. So the only place to sit and have a meal was the island that you just saw, or here.
So this becomes a coffee table, but it's also a dining table.
That's right. With the adjustable height coffee table, it can adjust. And then the built-in banquette utilizes all your space. The seats of the banquette actually come off, and you
For
can
storage.
put storage underneath.
Great. I love storage.
So it keeps everything nice put away, but it maximizes your storage. And for bedrooms, if you don't, this is a very tight space, wall mounting
Oh, it is.
your bedside lamps helps keeps your nightstands free. And if you're in a closet for your bedrooms, this was a very small space. It had bifolds that would open up into the space. So if you replace it with a curtain, it adds
It's
softness.
decorative, and it's soft.
So this is great also if you have a lot of doors in a hallway and a lot of closets and doors going on and they're always in the way, is just to replace them with soft textiles. And utilizing storage around stairways.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a spiral staircase, and it's been clad with a bookcase that's mounted on a piano hinge. So it's this huge bookcase that
It looks like
you
it.
pull and open. So not only does it serve a great storage function, it's decorative by putting a real bright pop of color on the inside. It looks really interesting from the outside.
What a conversation piece.
Yes, it's definitely a conversation piece. And then for people who are in lofts, which are not necessarily small spaces, but they don't have anywhere for storage.
Oh.
They're usually just a bedroom and big open space and nothing's partitioned off. So I created this room within a loft, and this is glass sliding doors so that when you have overnight guests, they can stay in there. And when the doors are open, it looks like this.
Oh, how nice.
So
That's the same room I
That's
see
the
now.
same room. So the doors slide open, and then back here is a Murphy bed that just drops down, and your overnight guests can stay there.
Great ideas. You've really dealt with lots of interesting challenges.
San Francisco
through
has
these.
a lot of small spaces, yes.
Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed seeing these examples.
All right, great. Thanks so much, Sheryl.
I hope you enjoyed the show today. Next time on Creative Living, we'll learn how to select a color palette when we're decorating. We'll learn to use stamps in mosaic artwork, and we'll talk about a program called Fuel Up to Play 60. One of my guests on the next show is an interior designer, and she says the most common question she's asked by her clients is, how do you select the right paint color for their space? She'll discuss some simple secrets the pros use to do this. Another guest is a designer and crafter, and she's going to show how easy it is to use specialty stamps to create mixed media art mosaics. And we'll talk to a representative of Dairy Max, and she's going to tell about a new program called Fuel Up to Play 60. All of these topics will be featured on the next Creative Living show. If you ever have comments or suggestions or ideas for shows, you can email me at sheryl.borden@enmu.edu. I'd also like to ask you to become a fan of Creative Living on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com and in the search window, type in Creative Living with Sheryl Borden. Thanks so much, and I hope you'll plan to join me next time for Creative Living.
We're very pleased to offer a new booklet that accompanies this series of Creative Living. This booklet is titled the 6800 Series, and it features a wonderful collection of ideas and information. And it's available free of charge on our website. Posted as a PDF file, you can simply download the entire booklet or just the segments you're most interested in. For your copy of this new booklet, go to our website at KENW.org and then click on Creative Living. Scroll down to the booklet section and you can click on the booklet or on any of the other booklets we have available online. We'd also like to invite you to sign up for our free e-newsletter. Just go to KENW.org and click on the Sign Up Now button and input your email address. Thank you.